It's pretty good. That is pretty good. Not the best. I picked up 2 ciders on my way home from the weekend. And this is not as good as the other one I picked up. The other one was cider with maple and vanilla. That one was mwah. This is Honeycrisp. This is good. I ain't mad at it. But I got 2 things, so inevitably you're going to compare them, and one is the better one. Pirates, I saw that you did well on your nursing exam. Congratulations on that. And also saw the earlier note about the actor who played the Valeyard passing away, and that is a shame. He had a good run though, so, but still. First time we managed to get to a live stream. Well, it's lovely to have you, CC. Yeah, the maple vanilla was, that was top shelf. This is good. Not especially Ms. Wicked Wolf. No, not really. So for folks just joining us, if you happen to be new here, I don't know. I feel like we mostly have just the regulars, but just in case, I will try and keep up with the chat as best as I can. There will be a period in the middle where I'm going to jump over to the Council of Geeks Discord and answer questions from there. And the only way that I can guarantee that I will see or respond to your comment or question is to do it as a super chat, which will also get you a heart from me. I will try and keep up otherwise. I just don't make any promises otherwise. That's how that works. Do I like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain? They're okay. If I'm going tropical, I'd rather go for a daiquiri. Hello from Scotland. There was part of me that was tempted to go into what is probably not a very good Scottish accent. I showed restraint because I've only just started. But welcome. Thank you very much. The volume low? Are people hearing me all right? Am I coming through? This is ground control to Major Tom. I can't keep singing that because it's copyrighted. Okay, cool. Good to know. When did I first start wearing glasses? I got my first prescription glasses sophomore year of high school. Around the same time that I got braces. So that was a lovely 1-2 punch to happen back to back. How do you prefer to listen to Big Finish, Doctor Who, MP3 downloads or CDs? Well, it's MP3 downloads by default because I don't have a CD player in my car anymore. Because it's difficult for me to put something on CD like in the house in a CD player and sit down and listen to it. The big advantage for audio for me is I can do something else at the same time. And so like CD is great for the car. But at this point, I don't have a CD player in my car. Most modern cars don't anymore, which is annoying. Which the equivalent would have been when I was younger, complaining about not having an 8-track player. I'm getting old. But yeah, it's kind of download by default now. Don't worry about it. I'm American. Moved 3 years ago for school, and I can't do one. Well, I'm sure you have a better grasp at how at the extent to which you can't do it, because you have constant point of reference. Me, not so much. The main thing I'm missing right now from not having a CD player in my car anymore is so I have the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books on audiobook, but I have a very specific one. I have the version read by Douglas Adams himself, which I love and is my favorite, and is generally not the version you can get when you buy digital. And I've only got those on CDs. I've got to rip those, make those into MP3s. Because that used to be like, if I didn't have something else I need to listen to, that used to be comfort listening to me in the car. And it hasn't been for 5 years now. Cocktail of choice. Depends on my mood. Paloma's kind of my go-to, like a default if I'm not in the mood for anything else. If I'm just like, I'm not feeling anything special today. Ooh, they have Paloma. I'll get a Paloma. I hate the Ferengi from Star Trek. Okay. Oh, good. Enjoy doing that. Blade Runner question. Which is the better version of Roy Batty's I Want More Lifeline? The original. Forgive me for swearing, but I do not think there is the same power in the subdued I want more life, Father, as that moment when he goes, I want more life. Fucker. Like, we knew Roy was dangerous prior to that, but something about the way he hits that word. Oh, it's the point at which you realize, like, the damage he's done up to now wasn't just like he doesn't care about the collateral damage. He's actively angry. And it is so contained in the delivery of that word. I have a strong preference on that. It's my birthday today, turning 33. Well, happy birthday, Harriet. Having a nice dinner tonight, but the real party will be at Gallifrey 1. I will be there. So feel free to say hi. Do I think Susan should come back in the Shurigatua era? At this point, I think it's a mistake to bring Susan back. Now, I'll put the usual caveat that I usually put on these things, which is maybe someone will come up with a story that will actually be worth it. But honestly, at this point, so much time has passed. I have a hard time coming up with what you could do with Susan that would be worth the wait and wouldn't feel gimmicky. Like, at this point, see, this is why it's kind of an advantage for me. The fact that I don't do a lot of speculation and I don't do a lot of prediction and I don't do a lot of this is what they should do. I'm mostly just here to see what actually happens. But I do have it in my head that the way to end Doctor Who, like, the show goes away again, like, and you could revive it again at a later date, but like, if you wanted to put a button on it and be like, we're done for now, what you do is you have the Doctor go back to Susan and, fulfill that promise of one day I will come back. I think that's how you end Doctor Who. And because I have that in my head, I have a hard time thinking of what else to do with Susan that I would like as much as that, or I think would be as impactful as that. I really want to get back to the physical media. I've already been collecting vinyl records. As a friend has a record player. I want DVDs, especially since Del Toro endorsed them. I'm getting real mad at the number of things that you cannot buy on physical media. I want a physical copy of Nimona so bad. And I can't. It's not available. And last I checked, only the first 3 seasons of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power is available in physical media. It is infuriating that these things could be gone. Aside Dungeons and Dragons, what TTRPGs do you play? Regularly, none. What have I played in the past? I've played GURPS. I've played whatever's the newer Star Trek system. I've played Call of Cthulhu. played a Transformers system. That was weird. But yeah, it's mostly been D&D. Do I like the song Bad Day by Daniel Powder? I did for a while. I haven't felt the desire to listen to it in a long time. Not that I dislike it, it's just like, I don't need that song right now. Do I remember the first comic book you bought/read? Morbius the Living Vampire issue 3, because I was so excited by Spider-Man on the cover, I didn't even bother to double check that it wasn't really his book. That was how clumsily I started getting into comics. Didn't the Eighth Doctor already meet Susan again? Possibly. I'd like, there's a lot of Big Finish I haven't listened to before, but when it comes to canon, I have said in the past, and I stand by, everything in, say, Big Finish or comic books or the novels is canon right up until the point that the show supersedes it, which it is liable to do at any moment. Do I like Bjork's music? I actually could not name you a single Bjork song. Like, I've always been aware of her more as a pop culture figure than as an actual musical artist. I'm not, like, I've probably heard something from her, but it's possible that I haven't heard any. I certainly can't think of any. Council of Geeks has been morbid forever, unfortunately. They actually showed Nimona in a theater here not long ago. Annoyed that I missed it. Oh, that sounds nice. It's canon until it's not as a good policy. I mean that is the simplest way to say it. Like, the Big Finish audios in the books aren't not canon. They're generally designed to fit in canon, but just realize the show will never default to them. If the show wants to do something that contradicts what the Big Finish or what the novels have done, the show will just do it. Supreme Omega coming in with the first super chat of the evening. Any non-superhero comics and graphic novels you like? Oh, fair few. Nimona, we'll shout that out again. I really like Snapdragon. That was a really good graphic novel. The Prince and the Dressmaker. That was a great graphic novel. I'm trying to think. There were some that I liked that I'm not going to name because I've got too many issues with the creators at this point. There's a couple like that, unfortunately. And I'm not in a mood where I feel like putting the 5 million asterisks on recommending it. I just rather not. I mean, it's a webcomic, but Sluggy Freelance. We'll throw that out there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to name. I mean, like, I would argue that Sandman is not a superhero comic, even though it technically takes place in the DC universe. So I'd throw that on the pile. What's it? Oh, crap. I can't think of his name all of a sudden. Hold on. Richard Moore. I don't think there's any issues with him. But he does, let's go with, he has a very cheeky art style that I'm rather fond of. He's probably best known for Boneyard, but I do rather enjoy Far West, which was his, and he's done some friskier stuff than that over the years. I like his stuff a fair bit, and he doesn't do superheroes. Pretty sure he hasn't anyway. Good grief. If any copyright holder of a superhero hired Richard Moore to write them, I'd read it in a heartbeat, and they'd also deserve whatever they got. It was kind of like when Marvel hired Milo Manara to do that cover of Spider-Woman, and everybody freaked out and was like, oh my God, she looks so sexualized. How did this happen? You hired Milo Manara. That's how that happened. What did you think he was going to do? If you know the guy's work, then you knew that was going to happen. Did you know the composer for the Disney Channel theme passed away 4 years ago? Oh, I did not know that. My first was Spider-Man number 133 from 1974. I was probably 2 years old and got it in 76. Solar eclipse is happening in April. Okay. German lefty Twitter is currently coming up with new logos for various subgroups of Antifa. Logo for ADHD Antifa. Okay, the fact that that's even a thing, that's adorable. Is a cute cartoon squirrel in a hoodie. We are here to fight fascism and, ooh, shiny. Girl Genius, yes. Thank you, Carowin. Good pull. Yes, Girl Genius absolutely deserves a big shout out for non-superhero comic or graphic novel. The squirrel being distracted by a butterfly with the slogan, distracted but still showing up. ADHD Antifa. Love it. Beautiful. Night of the Doctor kind of explicitly canonizes 8's Big Finish stories, but the other ones are firmly non-binding. Yes and no, Noah White. It canonizes the companions, not necessarily the adventures. Like, so to put it another way, that certainly would indicate the audios are canons, or at the very least 8's audios are canon. However, if the show at some point in the future wants to do something that would flatly contradict something that happened in that, they're still gonna do it. So to me, all that truly canonizes is that the Doctor had those companions. Did all the adventures happen? And also realize canon is not a yes or no. It's a case by case. Like, if something the show does contradicts a Big Finish story, that doesn't invalidate all of Big Finish. It just means, well, that story is no longer compatible. You need to divide it up. It's not all or nothing. Tara Stoller, thank you very much for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. Hey Vera, this is distressing me a bit because I really enjoyed Hasbin Hotel, but someone on Facebook linked me to a Google Doc that documented accounts of trans misandrous behavior from its creator. So I've heard. Here's what I have unfortunately learned. I did not want to learn any of this about Hasbin Hotel. It has a, so far as I can tell, very small but very vocal and very dedicated collection of anti-fans who will often claim to be fans of the show, but who seem to go all in on demonizing the creators. Some go after Vizipop, some go after other members of the crew, but there seems to be a very aggressive anti-fandom for the creators of that show. Does that mean that the accusations are not valid or are untrue? No, not necessarily. But it's one of those things because I've been sent links to that stuff too. And while I'm not going to say I don't think it's true, I am going to say I am highly skeptical of the motives of the people currently spreading it. It's one of those things that, like, yes, you have put stuff into a Google Doc that I can't independently verify. So I don't think it's unreasonable to be on the lookout a little bit. But, like, the thing to keep in mind is when stuff is isolated to a Google Doc, if they're not also sourcing directly to where it's from and it's still up, you don't know how they got what's in there. And you don't know what context was stripped out of what they have in there. I'm always skeptical of anything that lacks the ability for me to personally verify. And I say that while also acknowledging that sometimes a crappy person covering up their own tracks makes it so I can't verify it. Because if they delete the original tweets or Discord messages or whatever, then now, is that me saying, like, somebody just came with screenshots of a conversation. I will not believe that. No, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm given how highly motivated the anti-fandom of Hasbin Hotel appears to be, and I mean they are vicious. This is actually something in a roundabout way I might be addressing at some point in the future. I don't want to talk too much about that. We'll see if it even happens. But just knowing the tone of the people who are really pushing that idea of slamming the original creator and or members of the crew, it makes me reluctant to, or at least skeptical to buy into that narrative. That is not me saying it's definitely not true. I'm not defending Busy Pop. I'm saying I would like a more reliable source to be saying these things than the people who are. So there we go. Is that a secret wrist cuff you're sporting? Yes, Jen. How nice of you to notice. It is indeed the secret wrist cuff, which turns into the spicy friendship bracelet. All right, let's see. Have I ever gotten mice in my house? You mean like as unwelcome guests? Occasionally. Is the Doctor bisexual now? Arguably, the Doctor's been bisexual the whole time, depending on how you want to define it. It's been hinted at repeatedly. And I would say, I mean, like, short answer, yeah, like, I did a video years ago. It's like, is the Doctor gay now? Short answer, yeah, because the Doctor's own sense of gender is fluctuating and fluid. So, like, when we define gay or bisexual, straight as the gender you are and other genders, like, if the Doctor's gender is subject to change, which we now know for a fact it is, yeah, the Doctor, if the Doctor has sexual interest at all, they kind of have to be bisexual or pansexual by default. Just because even if, like, so say, for example, if all the Doctor's love interests are of women or women presenting people, feminine presenting, okay, so when the Doctor is male, that makes him straight. And when the Doctor is a woman, that makes her gay. I would say that makes the character, looking at them collectively through all regenerations, bisexual or pansexual. That's another debate to be had. Mouse is a phenomenal non-superhero historical graphic novel. Persepolis is also great. Persepolis I've read. Persepolis is great, and the movie adaptation is phenomenal. Mouse, I'm slightly embarrassed to say I have not read Mouse. I know I should have, but it's one of those things like, I don't know if I have the spoons for something that heavy. And every time I think about it, I'm like, oh, like I've heard it's great. I have no doubt that it's great, but I have not read it. Am I any good at impressions? Are there any that particularly impress others when you do it? I mean, like, I have a small handful of ones. Nobody ever seemed to be really impressed. And they're all character impressions. Like, they're not people impressions. Like, I could do, and like, these are all related because they're very similar voice-wise. I can do Gollum. I can do Stitch. I can do, what was the other one? I was thinking Jar Jar Binks. They all sound very similar in terms of, like, the vocalizations. They're all very, very similar. What's the difference between anti-fandom and hate following? I would say that hate following are people who just come in and are like, this is crap, this is garbage, and I think it's bad. Anti-fandom tends to have a very similar level of fervor to actual fans. Like, they will get just as invested in a thing as the fans do. They will get just as invested in learning about the creators, the behind the scenes, all the people involved, but they do it in a way that just spins into vitriol. So it's like the same level of commitment as a dedicated fan, but it's done with anger. So think hate following next level, I guess. Can we stop harassing people who worked on certain things for 5 minutes? Oh, that would be nice. Probably not, but that would be nice. Jennifer De Benedito. Thank you for the super chat. I was laid off in November. I was just offered a job. Oh, that's wonderful. Happy I could keep my Patreon memberships up. Just super chatting to celebrate. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. And congratulations. Feels like I am a true fan because I hate it more than anyone else. I think maybe more accurate is I'm a true fan because the problems I have with it are the right problems. I hate it for the right reasons. Yeah, it's weird out there. Yeah. Speaking of Hasbin, my biggest issue with the season was its pacing. It leads me to question why studios don't let episodes of comedy series be longer than 25 minutes. When I eventually see the last couple episodes, I expect that to be my primary criticism of the show overall. Like, just give it 2 or 3 more minutes per episode, honestly. Because there have been more than a few times where I felt like I turned over 2 pages at once. What is the most overused trope in fictional television? I mean, the romantic subplot. That's it. Perfect for daytime. That's right, Jen. Perfect for daytime or playtime. Supreme Omega coming in again. Do you view the 2008 recession and the decline of home video market as the reasons why everything became so IP driven in the 2010s to now in film? No, I think it's just following the money. I mean, if you're trying to nail down why the money went in that direction, I think that there were a handful of very successful, well-known IPs that made it clear that a well-managed intellectual property will make more money than almost anything else. And then everybody just went that way because that's where the money was. How much the recession or home video market decline factored into that, I don't know. Somebody could make that argument. Somebody who's better at research than I am could maybe make or debunk that argument. For me, corporations just go where they think the money is. And if somebody pulls way ahead and is making more money than the rest, all the rest are going to go, ooh, how can we approximate what they're doing? And when Marvel and, like Batman and stuff like that blows up into the most successful, biggest, constantly cranking out highly successful products kind of thing ever, yeah, everybody moves that direction. And we tend to think of that in terms of like, well, everyone tried to do an interconnected universe. And yes, they did, but more fundamental than that, milk your existing IP. That's where the bigger money is. Do I like Avatar: The Last Airbender? I keep getting asked this intermittently. It's fine. I saw it too late. I should have watched it when it first came out. I watched what I did watch of it significantly later. And as a result, all the things about it that are good, and they are, and there's many of them, and that at the time were groundbreaking in Western animation in terms of format and progressed story and serialized storytelling and the character arcs and how well it's done. It's not unique by the time I got to it. I've seen all the stuff that it influenced, some of which happens to be more in my personal preference in terms of what the core material was. So I already knew that format and how it inspired other things. So I know it's great and I know it's important, but it's like, it's going back to a piece of music that like inspired a musician that you really love. And you can hear the bits that led to the thing that you love, but it's hard to appreciate that thing that came earlier if that wasn't what you experienced first. If any of that makes sense. I hope so. Coyote Azul. I gotta hop over to the Discord in a minute. I'm going to try and catch up with the super chats first. With all this talk of hatedom in tonight's chat, have you ever read Evan Dorkin's The Eltingville Club? Should be a manual on don't do this if you're a fan of any geek media. I have never even heard of that. So, no. As someone who hates Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman run as I do, I'm curious about your biggest issues with it. If you don't want to talk about it, feel free to say no. Short version, Neko is literally every single female character in the 3 volumes that I read was defined by a man. From Diana to her mother to, I can't even remember her name, but the woman that Diana had to protect. Every single woman of note in every single page of those books was defined and made important because of a man, either who she had sex with or who her father was, i.e. who her mother had sex with. So women in the volumes that I read, which I stopped after 3, are defined solely and entirely and universally by the men that have somehow sexually touched their lives, either directly or secondarily because it's who their father is. It is so fucking gross. I'm sorry, this is becoming a rant. I need to move off of it. I'll just tell you this, Neko. My breaking point was when Diana went down to Hades, and like she's being groomed to marry Hades. And I know Greek mythology. I'm already thinking Hades has a wife. And then we find out that the handmaiden that's like prepping Diana is Persephone, Hades' wife. This doesn't matter. This has no impact on the plot, but we had to point out that the powerful woman who's supposed to be here is a servant being disregarded. Fuck Brian Azzarello's writing. I'm gonna be that level of specific. Ugh. Yeah, I have no interest in that man's writing, ever. Who was the worst character on Family Guy? I haven't watched Family Guy since it started getting really bad. I don't know. I'm kind of done with all of them at this point. Tommy Moi. Not sure how to pronounce it. Maybe that's correct. Thank you for the super chat. Favorite color? Forest green, usually. Kind of what I'm wearing. Twilord. My brain is looping over a Sonic game reveal. A one-shot, oft-hated 19-year-old gone character who folks, including writer, know I love, is coming back. Huh. Interesting. Sometimes some stuff comes back and it's like, why is that a thing? But, thoughts on Gravity Falls? Great show. Awesome. Okay, I gotta hop over to the Discord real quick. I will be back in a couple of minutes. Let's see. Okay, not as many questions as I usually get on there, so hopefully this won't be too long. And a reminder, the Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive perk. First up, has the amazing musician Raye, R-A-Y-E, hit your radar yet? She's a British singer-songwriter. I'm currently obsessed. I want to share how wonderful she is. I have never heard of her, so nope, not on my radar. Is there any musician you're obsessed with? I don't think so. I mean, the closest I probably came was Weird Al. But even that, I'm not comfortable saying obsessed. It's just, I think I bought more of his albums than any other singer or band that I've ever listened to, but I don't think any has ever risen to the point of obsession with me. Following your video about angel dust and the representation of sex workers. Okay, here we go. Have you seen the film Personal Service or the TV show Secret Diary of a Call Girl? If so, what do you think about the representation in that? No and no. I have heard of Secret Diary of a Call Girl. I haven't seen it. I've not heard of Personal Service. You emphasized a number of times in your video on Hasbin Hotel's handling of sex work that there were things that you liked about the episode. What did you like? Well, first of all, to be clear, if you put the focus on how sexual assault and an abusive relationship impacts a person, it depicts that very well. So I don't even think that's a flaw in the episode. It just bothered me that that was a story given yet again to a sex worker, because of course they have to be traumatized and abused and but like that abuse and its depiction was done very well. The songs are great. Poison's a great song, and Loser Baby is fantastic. It's well, as I said in that video, it does what it's doing very well. It's just what it is doing fits a pattern that I really want to see broken. What do you think of the dynamic between Husk and Angel? I liked it. I like seeing. I'm hoping that'll get developed more in future. I'm hoping it's not going to be a case of like, well, we saw them bonding this time, and then we can just assume they're besties. Like, I'd actually like to see that develop further in some ways, but I like what I've seen of it. Do you have thoughts on how The Good Place and Hasbin Hotel each handle similar concept? I mean, again, as I said in the video, main difference is tone. Like, the core concept is very similar, but the tone of it is completely different in terms of the mood intended to be evoked in the audience. Because The Good Place, while a comedy, is, broadcast network TV, that level of friendly comedy, and it's also fairly intellectual and often philosophical. I would not call Hasbin Hotel philosophical with any particular depth. So it's just coming at the similar core concept, just a lot more bluntly, and while saying fuck a lot. Just rewatch your Strange New World Season 1 review. So, prompted by your reaction to the fate of one character, what is your biggest, oh, come on, reaction to the death of a character? Oh. See, that's one of those things, like, that's a really good question that I am struggling to think of another example off the top of my head. I know there's got to be more, but I wish I could wrangle my brain well enough to answer that, because that's a great question, and I don't know. So I guess by default for right now, it's the character who I won't name in Season 1 of Strange New Worlds. Because, yeah, I was just really starting. I like that character to begin with. I was just really starting to vibe with them, and then they're gone. I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. Is it time for another run at the final episode of the original Dexter run? No. You'd have to pay me. Do I get a third question after asking that? Yes, and that was it. You said in a recent video you still wear the cap on occasion. What situations inspire you to put it on? Well, the last time I put it on was because I had just shoveled the driveway and my hair looked sweaty and gross, and I did not feel like going through the rigmarole of taking a shower and drying my hair and doing all of this just to sit down to talk about the nonsense that was James Somerton, because that was the video. Mood. It's rare that my mood drifts in a way that I feel like putting on the cap, but in the case of that day, it's just like, I don't want to deal with my hair. What do you think the reason behind the recent surge in number of people who were assigned female of birth coming out as trans male? See, I'm not going to have an opinion on that because I want to see reliable information. Because I know that surge is a popular narrative with people who do not mean the trans community well. That's not me saying that it isn't happening, but I am saying that when I have tracked down the places that claim that, I find a lot of ugliness underpinning that claim. So I'm not going to indulge the question, and it's not because of you asking, but I think that the framing that has drawn that into the discourse and is making that a question that people are asking is largely being driven disingenuously, and so I am reluctant to engage with that discourse at all at present. In the video about apologies, you said that the best apologies have the person explain what they're going to do to change in the future. How would you approach explaining that you're going to create a change of circumstances without it sounding as though you're just trying to justify the issue you've caused as you being the victim of circumstance? For example, I'm autistic and struggle a lot with picking up social cues. I end up falling out with a friend because I accused her boyfriend of not letting her meet with friends when in reality she was difficult to meet up with because she had changed her mind about meeting up with me and was hoping I'd get the hint. I wanted to send her an apology ending with something along the lines of, I'm going to work on my social skills so that it won't happen again. But I ended up not saying that because I thought it made it sound like I'm blaming my actions and my lack of social skills and was refusing to take responsibility. I don't think, personally, that what you just described is you not taking responsibility. The responsibility you're taking is that your failure to pick up on social cues caused the problem. And you're owning up to that, and you're saying, I'm trying to fix that. I don't think that's trying to dodge responsibility. That is figuring out what the problem is and trying to work on it. So it's odd to me that your original question was framed as how would you explain to creating a change in circumstance, but like if the circumstance is I am this way and I need to work on that, that's taking responsibility and putting out there how you intend to try and adjust or at least account for how you are. So I don't think that's dodging responsibility at all. Would it be probably more helpful to have more concrete things to offer than just, I'm going to work on getting better at this? Yes. What would those be? In this specific case, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. But as a general rule, the more specific you can be in the exact things that you are going to do to get better, and the less it's just like, this is the problem and I'm going to work on it. Like, that's not nothing. Identifying the problem is the start of making anything better. But I think the best apologies not only identify accurately the problem, but set forth tangible things that you intend to do in order to address it. Okay, that is it for the Discord. So I am back in the chat. I'm really sorry if I added to your stress by making you think of Brian Azzarello. It's okay. Like, you need to understand, Neku, that I generally have a rant in me just bubbling under the surface at any time. It doesn't take much to launch me into rant mode. And sometimes, like, when I'm hanging out with people who just aren't up for hearing me go off, they have to be like, I'll be like, oh, sorry. Right, pull it back. Because, like, I could just go off. I can. It's a thing that can happen. Personal Service is based on the autobiography of a famous sex worker and madam in the UK. It's a great film, but it's very transphobic / interphobic scene in it that is very cringe. That is a shame. Let's see. Tiny Toons Adventures or Animaniacs? It probably depends on the day you ask me. Like, I'll probably give a different answer at different times. Favorite Cartoon Network shows? Samurai Jack. Season 5 didn't end well, which was annoying. Have I seen either of the reboots, Tiny Toon Adventures or Animaniacs? Nope. Oh, did the Tiny Toons reboot actually happen? I remember it being announced. Did that actually come out? I don't remember hearing a damn thing about it actually coming out. Tiny Toons Looniversity. Oh, I guess it came out last year. Huh. Okay. That didn't make a splash at all, did it? Probably because, like, rebooting that was the worst idea they could have done to revive Tiny Toons. There is an amazing, beautiful concept for continuing Tiny Toons right in front of them, and they didn't bother doing it. So allow me to fan write for a hot minute. Don't reboot Tiny Toons. Continue Tiny Toons. Because you know how old those characters were in the 90s? They're about my age. They're millennials. They're elder millennials. They're in their late 30s, early 40s. And they went to Acme University on the assumption, and being taught by the original Looney Tunes on the assumption that they would become the new stars, that was the future that was promised them. And the original Looney Tunes never went away. It is a perfect analog for the fact that older generations have refused to cede power, opportunity, or wealth to millennials or Gen Z for that matter. Like, it's right there. It's right there. How do you not just do that? It was right in front of them. They missed it by a lot. No, let's just reboot it and make them kids again. Why? Why? So that you can update the pop culture references? Who cares? What a waste. Twilord. Let's see. Looks like we've got some follow-ups here. So the reason the character is back, so this is the Sonic thing, is to frame another character's life story mirroring Sonic's own time travel story. Sonic has such complex lore for a anthropomorphized, I'm gonna say rodent. I know he's not a rodent, but I can never remember what hedgehogs actually are. So, like, his lore runs deep, and it's way more for me to ever keep up with. And one more follow-up. People are reacting way more positively to him because at this point he feels like a correction to the franchise overcorrecting for his game. Sometimes bringing back a character who was disliked previously is a chance to try and fix what didn't work and to actually, find a way to take the original concept and give it another shot. I think that's one of the reasons it's worth sometimes bringing back forgotten characters. To be fair, as cool as that Tiny Toons concept would be, that's giving way too much overall credit to Looney Tunes insofar as subtext. I still say it's better than what they're doing. Do I know the lyrics of the Animaniacs theme song? Yeah, I won't be singing them because I don't need to get copyright claimed. I'm 100% trans myself. Interesting, John. How do you figure out the percentages on that? And what does it mean to be 90% trans? 60, 35? Like, now I'm real curious as to how these percentages translate. Favorite Nickelodeon show? Ooh. See, the thing is, I never really got into Nick shows all that much. Like, I watched Nick a fair bit because it just had stuff that was targeted at my age range, and it was decent background. Just something to put on. I'm not sure there was really much of anything on Nick that I was like, ooh, I want to be sure that I catch this. At least not that I saw when I was a kid and was relevant, and it was relevant to my life. Yeah, I'm not sure I have one. Acme University failed because they didn't rehire the old voice actors. Well, that didn't help. Jason Thayer. I wouldn't say that's the reason it failed. I would say the reason it failed is they probably didn't market it worth a damn. Like I said, I didn't even realize it had happened. I didn't watch the Animaniacs reboots, but I knew it happened. So I would say it's a failure of marketing. That probably didn't help, because if you aren't going to age them up or change them in a significant way, then yes, fans of the old show are going to notice their favorite characters don't sound like they used to. So yeah, if you're not going to significantly change them, then yeah, you should probably keep the original voice actors if they're willing to do it. I'm 20% trans, him, her, both, neither, just me. I liked Ren and Stimpy just for how bonkers it was. I never really clicked with Ren and Stimpy. Even as a kid, I remember thinking like this, and like, okay, I know it's different. I know the humor is different, the tone is different, but it, even at the time, like a few years later, it would remind me of Beavis and Butthead in that, like, yeah, this is different, but I'm not sure it's good. And like kids my age like thought that was the best stuff ever. And I was like, okay. You know, like around the same time, freaking Adam Sandler's "They're All Gonna Laugh at You" album came out, and I had a bunch of friends who thought that was the funniest thing on the planet. I'm like, okay. Even young, I was a comedy snob. So, favorite Disney show? Gargoyles. Yeah, I feel comfortable with that. Coyote Azul, back again. Just FYI, the Eltingville Club is a brutal dark comedy comic about the 4 worst stereotypes of fandom: comics, sci-fi, gaming, and horror movies. Ooh, yeah. Whew, yep. Nope, that definitely a lot to pull from. I'm a mere 0% trans, unfortunately. There's nothing unfortunately about that, Mars. Being trans or not being trans is not an inherently good or bad thing. It's just being you. So there's no need to put unfortunately on there. Do I prefer Doctor Who intros to show the Doctor's face or not? No. With incredibly rare exceptions, no. Actually, the only exception that, the big exception that I'd make is, got a big asterisk on it, which is I like the last set of credits they did for Pertwee, which is not just his face, it's full body. And I thought that one worked. I actually like that one quite a bit. But I don't like the face. It doesn't help that most of the time, the faces, like the still image, just looks bad. Like, oh, some of the ones that Tom Baker especially, like in his last seasons, he was like, I don't know why they use that image. Oh, it was not good. It's not good. So yeah, by and large, I don't like the faces. I'll tell you what though. Sylvester McCoy, his face in Seventh Doctor's intro is growing on me, although I suspect that is partially because I am coming to deeply love the Seventh Doctor, especially with Ace. So, like, I think I'm softening on the Seventh Doctor's intro largely because seeing it means, ooh, I get to see the Seventh Doctor and Ace. So I don't know how much of it is me warming to the thing itself or how much of it is positive feelings by association. But there is something about his little wink, and especially because like he's very clearly in silver face paint. Oh, it's growing on me. I still don't like that they picked what I can't help but think of as the heroic bridge from the Doctor Who theme to make it as part of the opening. I still think that's wrong. That should not be there. That's for the outro. How the Grinch Stole Christmas or Halloween is Grinch Night. Well, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I mean, Halloween is Grinch Night is underrated and unfortunately far more forgotten than it should be. It's very good. People should find it. People should watch it, but it's not better. Sad fact: the creator of Ren and Stimpy is very right wing. There's one season of adult Ren and Stimpy that was canceled by Spike TV. Spike TV thought it went too far. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that guy. I'll tell you what, it makes it much easier for me to say I never liked Ren and Stimpy, and I never did. You know, like I'm not trying to claim I have predictive powers, but there is something vindicating when creators whose work you never liked kind of turn out to be terrible people. Oh, you know what? I never thought Ren and Stimpy was very good. I never thought Ricky Gervais was funny. So, you know, there's something vindicating about that. Of course, then there's, you know, cases of, you know, I did used to genuinely think Dave Chappelle was funny. And was the first Doctor actually sexist? A little. Yeah. I think it was overplayed in Twice Upon a Time. But, yeah, a little bit. 5 minutes. Thank you, Carolyn, for that heads up. Ace will always be famous wax Dalek with a baseball bat. Like, as well she should be. Ace is a great companion, but especially paired with that Doctor. Like, the thing is, and I include myself in this because I've done rankings of, like, the best companions. Like, we talk about the companions in a vacuum, but honestly, the best, it's about the pairing. It's about the dynamic. It's not just who the companion is. It's about the Doctor that they're paired with. 7th Doctor and Ace, 2nd Doctor and Jamie, 10th Doctor and Donna. These are perfect pairings. 12th Doctor and Bill, honorable mention. Not quite as good as the other 3 that I mentioned, I don't think, but close. Like, these characters in a vacuum, in another story, paired with a different Doctor even, would not work as well. But, just, mwah. Perfectly paired. 6th Doctor and Evelyn Smythe. So there's your big finish recommendation. 6th Doctor and Evelyn Smythe is, that was good. Because 6th Doctor, it really didn't help that during the 6th Doctor's run on television, the writers really seemed like they hated the companion. It really felt like the writers hated Perry and wanted her to suffer. And I don't know why. And it is a major part of what makes his TV era bad. Have you decided what will be the next 7th Doctor serial you want to see? Paradise Towers might be a good one to go before Mel appears in the 15th Doctor's era. I have not made a call on that yet. Interesting recommendation. Good rationale. I haven't made a call on that because he's the 7th Doctor is the one. So I've seen all of 6th Doctor. Of the ones that I haven't seen everything of, 7th Doctor is the one I have the fewest left to see. So I'm kind of like savoring those as best I can. Ren and Stimpy and Beavis and Butthead were unique because they were gross out shows going mainstream popular. Okay. I don't like gross out humor. So, bleh. There was a lot more interesting animation going on at that time. Or close to it. Even from MTV, it bugs me that Beavis and Butthead was like the big breakout thing when Aeon Flux and the Max and hell, the Head even were way more interesting. Oh well. Rugrats is pretty good. It's all right. The good episodes of Rugrats are very good, but it's not a show that I'm often just in the mood for. Just like randomly, if you know what I mean. I do have to wrap it up soon. Paradise Towers is on the short list. Yes, yes, it is. That is correct, Caron. Never said it was a good thing. That's true, Coyote Azul. You didn't say it was a good thing. But, I mean, it explains why I didn't like it. Yeah, and, like, even Beavis and Butthead's own spinoff, Daria, was way better. Just across the board. And yes, correct, Gozer. The Max was awesome. I will never stop loving the Max. The MTV series, especially, like, the comic is good. I honestly think the show is better. And I understand the show doesn't do that long a stretch of the comic. I honestly think the show is better. I think the concepts work better when you hear the voices and when they're in motion. I love the Max so much. Oh, so good. Thoughts on pre-Hartnell doctors on at this point? What is there to have a thought on? The fact that they exist, don't like it. Think it's a bad idea. I like Joe Martin. I wish Big Finish would finally release something with her. I think they announced it like 2 years ago that she was going to do stuff. I don't think anything's come out yet. But, like, I want to like her because she's great in the part. But, you know, I don't think there's much to even have an opinion on with pre-Hartnell doctors. They're a thing, apparently. Okay. What's my favorite animated British program? I'm not sure I've seen very much British animation. Come to think of it. Danger Mouse, maybe? I'm not sure. Battery running low. Okay, Neku. Like, I'm going to wrap up in just a minute or two. I just want to finish my drink. What if Joe Martin was the War Doctor? I mean, that would be very cool. That moment would not have landed. Part of the reason that moment landed the way it did was because it was John Hurt. So I think the casting was actually kind of vital for that reveal. Did I ever watch Duckman? A little bit. That show's not smart. That show's very stupid. I kind of got a soft spot for that one. I haven't thought about that. I haven't thought about that show in ages. Wow. Wallace and Gromit or Shaun the Sheep? Mood dependent. I could go either way, actually. One question then. What do you think the future of queer animated shows will be? I don't know. Like, I'm a bad person to ask about the future of queer anything because as a consumer, the fact that it's queer to me should make a good thing great, but it won't make me interested in something that I don't have a lot of interest in otherwise. Like, it doesn't happen too much anymore. I remember Super Ted as well. Oh, crap! Oh, Super Ted. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, dang. That's a memory unlock. Shit. I forgot about that. Anyways, okay. So, I need to answer the question, and then I've got a super chat, and I need to finish this, and I need to call it a night. But, so what was I on? Yeah. So the thing is, like, for me, the ideal kind of queer show, and it happens to be animated, is something like She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Like, that show, that world, those characters, the action, the fantasy, all of it is already good, is already something I'm interested in, is already something I want to see, and then it is queer on top of that. Similarly, honestly, with something like Nimona, while I have said, and I will continue to say, the queerness is completely baked in. You could not actually remove the queerness from Nimona without completely changing it from the ground up. But even if you did remove the queerness, it would be nowhere near as good. It would be a shell of itself. But that's still an interesting concept. Someone who wants to be a sidekick to a villain who seems to be both more powerful and more bloodthirsty than the villain they are a sidekick to in a techno fantasy setting. Like, that's already interesting. And then you bake the queerness in as much as Nimona did. Mwah. Like, that to me is what I want to see. I want incredibly queer things, but I want the pitch, other than just the queerness, to be something I would already be going, oh, that does sound interesting. And a lot of stuff that is like the front and center, like queer entertainment, is like, and look, they're gay together. And like, okay, yeah, but what else? Like, I'm gay on my own. If I want gay, I can go out my front door. You know, give me something more than that. Of course, I say that as a big lover of fantasy and sci-fi. So I want fantasy and sci-fi with queerness in it. I mean, that's what I personally want, but that's just my taste. All right, last the super chat. I know words. Sonic lore, characters, alien, warlord, Satan analog. Okay. Sure, why not? Made a deal with Eggman's granddad, created Shadow. Fans were tired of disconnected stories. I guess that makes sense. That's a hell of a sentence. Alien, warlord, Satan analog. Wow. Sonic, you do you, man. All right. I am all done. Mommy, can we have some gay? No, honey, we have gay at home. I am the gay you have at home. All right. I'm calling it a night. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. This has been fun. I love doing this. Thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourselves. Be well, be safe, be kind. Remember that you are the council and I am just running the meetings. So until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!